When you think of athletes that broke the color barrier and paved pathways for African American athletes, who do you think of? Jackie Robinson, Jesse Owens, Jack Johnson? These are all amazing pioneers of sports, but I'm here to tell the story of a pioneer you might not know about. The first African American starting quarterback in professional football, Marlin Briscoe. I'm Gavin Norley, and this is the story of the magician, Marlin Briscoe. Briscoe was born in Omaha, Nebraska on September 10th, 1945. He grew up in public housing throughout the city of Omaha. Later on in life, he attended Omaha South High School and was a star football and basketball player. After graduating high school in 1963, he went on to play college football at the University of Nebraska-Omaha. Even at this time, a black quarterback on a collegiate team was still somewhat of a rarity. It was at Nebraska-Omaha that Briscoe broke records and put himself in draft conversations of the AFL. In his college career, he went 27 of 11 with 3 conference championships. He also had 52 touchdown passes, over 4,000 passing yards, a 55 completion percentage, and a career total offense record of 6,253. After this came the AFL draft. Marlin Briscoe, a 5'10", 177-pound quarterback, was taken in the 14th round of the AFL draft by the Denver Broncos. The Broncos wanted to convert Briscoe to a cornerback at this time, as they didn't want to take the starting job from their 3-year starter, Steve Tensey. Briscoe, however, didn't want to be a defensive back. He negotiated and was kept a quarterback on the roster. At week 4 of the 1968 season, Briscoe was the 4th-string quarterback on the team. I can only imagine he thought that he'd never see a snap in the AFL. But then, Steve Tensey suffered a broken collarbone. The 2nd-string quarterback, Joe DeVito, was spotty at best. Head coach Lou Saban brought in the 3rd-string quarterback, Jim LeClair, for a game against the Boston Patriots. LeClair put up some awful numbers, going 5 for 17 with 92 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. With nowhere left to go, in the 4th quarter, Briscoe was brought in. Briscoe's first play was a 22-yard completion. On just his 2nd series, Briscoe manifested an 80-yard touchdown drive. He completed a 21-yard pass and rushed for 38 yards just by himself. The last 12 yards of the drive were a rushing touchdown. Who ran the ball? Marlin Briscoe. Well, the Broncos didn't win this game. Briscoe ended the game going 2 for 6 passing with 43 yards and rushed for 51 yards and only 5 attempts with a touchdown. Briscoe made the case for why he should be the starter. And then 1 week later, he made history. On October 6, 1968, Marlin Briscoe became the first starting African-American quarterback in professional football. In just 5 starts of this season, Briscoe threw 14 touchdown passes. 4 of those were in one game against Buffalo, which is still a rookie record for the Denver Broncos. He also passed for 335 yards in that game. That was a rookie record until it was broken by John Elway. However, that game is still one of 3 300-plus passing yard games for a rookie in Broncos history. Briscoe completed 41.5% of his passes with over 1,500 passing yards. He averaged 7.1 yards per attempt, and his 17.1 yards per completion led the AFL, and it ranks 29th of all time. He also rushed for 308 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. He ranked 21st in total rushing yards that season out of 116 players. It seemed like the Broncos had a star on their hands, but the Broncos didn't want Briscoe to be their starter. For the 1969 season, Lou Saban wanted to start CFL import Pete Lisk over Briscoe. This, of course, angered Marlin, and he demanded to be released by the team. He eventually was, and then he signed with the team he was familiar with, the Buffalo Bills. The Bills already had a superstar QB in Jack Kemp and had their depth for the position already settled. This meant Briscoe had no room to play quarterback for the Bills, so they converted him to a wide receiver. Once Briscoe was converted to play receiver, he never played quarterback again, but man, Briscoe didn't care because he was still phenomenal. Briscoe led the Bills in touchdown catches every year he was there and in receptions twice. In 1970, he was an all-pro receiver with 57 receptions, 1,036 yards, 8 touchdowns, and he averaged 74 yards a game. After his 3 seasons in Buffalo, Briscoe had a total of 2,171 receiving yards and 18 touchdowns. However, after the 1971 season, the Bills traded Marlin Briscoe to the Dolphins for Joe Delamalore, a future Hall of Fame offensive lineman. Briscoe was now a Miami Dolphin. But he wasn't just on any Dolphins team. This was the 1972 Dolphins team. If you don't know what they accomplished, well, they're arguably the greatest football team ever assembled. They went undefeated in the regular season, playoffs, and won the Super Bowl. To this day, the only team to do so. Don't worry, Briscoe still bought out on this team too, putting up 4 touchdown catches in the 72 season. Briscoe won his first ring and was a part of history again. In 1973, Briscoe made a name for himself in Miami as well. He was the leading receiver of the 73 Dolphins. He had 30 catches for 447 yards with 2 touchdowns and an average 31.9 yards per game. Also, just a side note, he had more catches this season than Paul Warfield, who's a Hall of Fame wide receiver. Just wanted to throw that out there. Briscoe won his second ring at the end of this season. After this, he had one more season with the Dolphins, putting up over 100 yards. After his tenure with the Dolphins, Briscoe made stops in both Detroit and San Diego in 1975, putting up 372 yards total for both teams and 4 more touchdowns to his name. Final stop of his NFL career was the New England Patriots. He had 10 catches for 136 yards and 1 touchdown. That 1 touchdown was from Pats QB Steve Grogan. When Briscoe was the Broncos quarterback, he was intercepted by Patriots defensive back Leroy Mitchell. This makes him the only player to be intercepted by a Patriots player and catch a touchdown as a Patriots player. After that final stop in New England, Briscoe retired from football. He moved to LA and became a financial broker. However, in this time, Briscoe became addicted to cocaine. He is quoted saying, "I started to dabble in cocaine, both at the job. A lot of brokers were doing cocaine. And when I came home, I would do cocaine. Then it escalated into a habit. Then I got married and had a daughter, but by then I was spiraling out of control. Got to the point where I was dependent on cocaine. I ended up losing my family, my house, and everything that I had worked for. I virtually ended up in the street. For 10 years back and forth, from homelessness to despair or whatever. A 10-year battle where I lost everything. I had a nice house, a swimming pool, and a great job, but I got tackled by a linebacker that I couldn't outrun." However, Briscoe beat his addiction. He overcame it. He eventually started an annual football camp in Long Beach and worked with the Boys and Girls Club to clean himself up. I wanted to tell the story of Marlin Briscoe because I feel as though his impact is underappreciated. He's in the College Football Hall of Fame, but why not the NFL Hall of Fame? He was a part of the 72 Dolphins, the greatest team ever, has 2 Super Bowl rings, was an all-pro wide receiver, and set a landmark for black quarterbacks in the NFL. In fact, he was an inspiration to black quarterbacks, and he even has a foundation of black quarterbacks with Doug Williams, Warren Moon, and James Harris, called the Field Generals. At a memorial for Joe Gilliam, Briscoe said that all of the black quarterbacks who had played, past or present, were all there. To a man, they came up and thanked me for setting the tone and giving them an opportunity to play. I didn't think they knew who I was, but they did. Briscoe is appreciated by black quarterbacks in the NFL for what he did. I'm going to end this story with a quote from Briscoe about his personal greatest accomplishment. Playing quarterback for the Denver Broncos and proving that a black man could lead. We also won games, and some big games, proving the naysayers wrong about a black man at that position. All my life, I heard that blacks can't play the quarterback position. At every level, I basically played in a white environment. I was always a black quarterback in their eyes, but to me, I was never a black quarterback. It was just the position I wanted to play. At every level, I heard that a black man didn't have the capabilities of playing that position. On every level, I proved them wrong. All the way to the pros.